Good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is David Moss, and joined you today by Nathan West. We're talking all things MGS. Happy to have you all here. If you want to put in where you're coming from today, the last time we did this, we got a lot of exciting people all across all across the globe, 4 or 5 different continents. So if you want to put in where you're from, we'd love to hear it. Love to hear how you doing this morning, Nathan.
I'm doing quite nicely. How are you?
Oh, really, really happy. Glad to be here. So we'll wait a minute or two, let people join in, let everybody sip on their coffee here a minute. Well, we got Washington State. That's home for me. Dallas, Texas. Love to see it. Utah, underrated state for sure. And Colorado. So all around cool. We'll give another 15, 20 seconds and we'll go in from there.
Yeah.
All the way in Qatar. Damn, that is a long ways. That's cool though. Thank you for joining. Got
Yeah.
Canada, all there. So again, David Moss. Today we're going to be going over all the product lines that MGS offers. So I will be going over Inertial Labs and the Recipe lineup of scanners and Whisper, and Nathan here will be going over GeoSlam and StoneX. We're happy to answer questions at any time. So if anybody has any questions related to anything, LiDAR scanning, drones, SLAM scanners we're talking about as well, GNSS equipment, total stations, any kind of survey control, scanning, please put your question up. We want to answer them. We want this to be an interactive session. So please put them up on there, and we'll go from there. So Nathan, you have the floor.
All right. As you said, I'll be going over GeoSlam and StoneX, starting with GeoSlam, a Faro solution now. So it's based off of SLAM. It's in the name, simultaneous localization and essentially uses complex algorithms tying a couple of sensors together to simultaneously localize the sensors and map the surrounding environment. They're really neat. Some use visual data, like a lot of the self-driving cars will use like a visual slam on top of a LiDAR slam, but GeoSlam uses a LiDAR-based slam algorithm. So it's been around for quite a long time. Got its start in robotics, pretty much machine sight, machine vision. But we've come quite a long ways where now we're person can use it to map a whole environment, either indoors, outdoors, a forest, underground mines. So there's quite a few things you can map with it now that we've developed it quite a long ways. And so we used to just set it on a tripod and shoot off a bunch of lasers from a known point, and you'd have to register each of those separate scans together. Every time you move the tripod to get a different angle on the room, you'd have a different scan that you then needed to register together. Where the mobile SLAM-based LiDAR, you just walk around with it. It's actively registering to itself as you're moving through the room. So you can map some pretty complex environments very quickly. Because instead of setting up the tripod, you pretty much are the tripod, and you just carry it and show it whatever you'd like for it to map. So one of the biggest things, as I've kind of mentioned, is speed and accuracy. You're maintaining a lot of accuracy while upping your speed tenfold in a lot of different cases. And because GeoSlam's been doing this for a while, it's high quality, low distortion. Their SLAM algorithm is very robust. So you can do things like go from an interior to an exterior kind of environment, and the SLAM algorithm won't fail on you. You can turn the system upside down, and the SLAM won't fail on you. They're very robust. And because of this, they're very flexible in a lot of the things that they can do. The GeoSlam system can be mounted to almost anything. If it's the right size, it can carry the weight, you can mount a GeoSlam system to it, and you can start mapping almost immediately. So you get real-time data capture, you get a real-time feedback on a lot of these, and the processing is very quick. So you get quick data insights. very rapidly from time of capture to whenever the client or you need that data. And as I kind of mentioned, GeoSlam has a very robust SLAM algorithm. So not all SLAMs are created equal. You need to really throw a bunch of stuff at it. Like I said, turn it upside down, go from inside to outside, just really complicated environments. The more you throw at it, the more you can develop it, the more robust it is. And as I mentioned before, there's a few different ways of using it. You can use it handheld, where you just walk around with it. A wearable backpack makes it a lot easier if you're doing trails, outdoor things, or you can even mount cameras, GNSS, a few different things to our system and integrate it into the point cloud. So the backpack kind of gives you more mounting options for a person. Of course, there's UAV. Everyone loves drones. The M300 is about the smallest drone that can carry a GeoSlam, just purely for weight, as I mentioned earlier. If it can carry the weight, we can mount it to your drone. So that's the basics of the GeoSlam. Very robust. You can mount it to a few different things. You can take it into a lot of different environments to map pretty much whatever you need to get mapped. The only thing is the accuracy is 2 centimeter. So if you need something that's like pipe room or something that's really, really high detail, high tolerances, then this may not be the right thing. But for almost every other application, the GeoSlam system can really get you some good data pretty quickly.
Extremely easy to use. What kind of situations do you guys use a SLAM scanner? We'd love to hear it. Any questions that you have about SLAM? Any questions about anything that we have? Put them in the chat. Make sure to answer them. Doesn't have to be product specific. Just about the technology. We're equipped to answer both. So keep that in mind. But SLAM is first tall as it can get.
So now we're moving on to StoneX. They're high precision GNSS and total station. They make a few other products, but we really like the GNSS systems and the total station for kind of creating a way to geolocate any of the scans that you're doing with any of our other products, whether it's Recepi or GeoSlam. Using StoneX systems, you can geolocate. They're really, really handy, fairly cheap for the high quality that they are. It's an Italian company based near Milan, been there for 10 years, doing really, really great work. They have a pretty good culture. Their company culture is really nice because they honestly do really go after these things of accuracy, efficiency, and reliability. Their support system is really, really nice. Everyone that I've talked to is super friendly, and they really respond to any kind of needs that you have. Like I said, they've been around for over 10 years there in Italy, making some really cool, good products. As you see, the GNSS receivers, you can do machine control by mounting the GNSS to them. And then they have the total stations coming out in 2019. They're really, really nice. They have over 200 qualified distributors worldwide. They have a headquarters in Europe, one in America, and one in Asia. As you'll see in a second, the American one is mainly for management, sales, support, and service, which is really nice that they do have an HQ here just for that support. So if you call someone, they're going to be in the right time zone. They're going to have little to no accent so you can understand them. They're really, really nice people. And of course, they have the Beijing, China, where they do some manufacturing, and they also do manufacturing in Italy itself. And there's kind of a price adjustment depending on where you're buying from, but it's all really good, high quality products. And just like scanning, you can use scanning in survey, construction, site monitoring, agriculture, mapping. So these are really good products for combining with your scanning or capture method. So that, again, so that you can geolocate it, you can maintain quality assurance, accuracy. You just can really, really keep your customers happy, knowing that you have good products behind you and you've double checked everything that you're giving them. So again, it's applicable to a lot of the same things that you're going to be using a scanner for. Really nice and handy dandy. They do have some nice software. The Cube suite is really nice. It's for dealing with point clouds. And again, the GNSS data that you're capturing, you can kind of combine those two together in their in-suite software. So you're not having to get a bunch of third-party stuff, dealing with a completely different company, trying to get your stuff together, get it geolocated and everything. It's all in one place. And again, the support with these guys is really good. So they have some 3D scanning hardware. They're pretty good, but we really like their surveying equipment and their software. Really, really good for taking your captures and getting them into a usable format so that the data is good. And they have some pretty cool tilt little, what do they call them? The survey rods, the rovers. Whenever you need to get behind a tree, underneath a vehicle, something like that, as you can see in these pictures here, this will allow you to do that so that you're moving quicker. You're not having to reset up so that you can just get around that tree, just get around that bush. It saves you some good time. They have a visual slam, like I brought up earlier. Some self-driving cars use a visual slam on top of the LiDAR slam. This here's a visual slam. They're really neat. It's more for a smaller area where the GeoSlam can do a whole warehouse, outside, inside. This will be more for like doing a room or two inside of a warehouse, a building, maybe a single building facade outdoors. It does work outdoors. They're pretty interesting. This visual slam is pretty nice. And then there's software suites. Cube A, basic surveying. It's like a data collector, surveying data collector software. It can go onto any kind of Android device, so it's pretty agnostic as far as like what can you use for a data collector. Well, anything that can run Android. So you can get a really robust one that you can drop, or you can just get a really simple one like your phone and use it as a data collector. Their software suite is pretty nice. The Cube 3D is for dealing with the point clouds. Cube Manager is for using the GNSS and the total stations. They're handy and easy, very easy to use, very user friendly. Like some of the Trimble softwares I've used can be kind of clunky, a little not so intuitive. This one's a little more intuitive, especially if you've used data collectors before. They're pretty nice. And once again, their support is really nice. They can come up with custom solutions. Just let them know what your issue is, what your project is, and they will help you figure out a way through to make it easier, smoother, sometimes even safer. And so that's StoneX. They're a really good company that makes some nice products that tie right into our different capture methods, mostly for geolocating, but also some nice software solutions as well.
So two of those things that we want to highlight from StoneX, again, is their GNSS and their total station. It's important to note that with all things in StoneX and all the things that we offer at MGS, that none of them you're not tied into any single ecosystem. You know, everything is plug and play with each other. So from here, 1408 channel GNSS, all their 1408 channels start as low as $6,500. You can add 60-degree IMU tilt, which is industry leading. 1408 channels, also industry leading, and you can have internal UHF radios up to 5 watt, which is also industry leading, and you can plug in up to a 35 watt radio as well. So possibilities are pretty endless on that front. S900, they have USB-C charging options. They have receivers with screens. They have receivers with swappable batteries here, like the S900. There's a lot of versatile options. If you want to do a mixed survey or just a higher survey, they also have their brand new robotic total station. It's got dual Android OS screens, super easy to use. Use the same, really easy, easy to comprehend. If you're new to the industry or seasoned professional, that their Cubase software, definitely the best part about StoneX. Huge slam dunk on that, but same sort of thing. Mixed surveys, use any of their GNSS receivers, use it on there. Single drive. You could have a full base rover setup with a robot for all under $50,000. It's an extremely attractive deal. Built-in camera, which is pretty unique on the total station. Full on board, full LTE if you want that. Full motor, silent motor, 180-degree turn as the R180 name suggests. all super cool, really unique in the marketplace. And again, plug and play with everything else that we use. And like everything else, it's not tied into a single ecosystem. So we've touched on the GeoSlam. We've touched on the StoneX as well. So we'll touch on some other things as well. And again, if anybody has any questions throughout this, please don't hesitate to stop us. We're here to help anybody that's looking to get into their scanning journey, any survey control, ground control points, questions about LiDAR, questions about photogrammetry, anything of that sort. We're happy to quit. This doesn't have to be just a necessarily discussion on hardware. So next thing up is Inertial Labs, one of our partners as well, and their lineup of Recipe scanners, which are going. But Inertial Labs, founded in Virginia in early 2000s, 2002, I believe, mainly DoD. The whole thing is high-end sensors, high-end IMUs, high-end INS, everything, and go on tanks, aircrafts, missiles, you name it. They have a solution for it. Really exciting on there, and because they have super high-end IMUs that they've made, they've figured out that, hey, putting it and integrating it all and making it into LiDAR scanners is a great idea. So they've done that. Their IMU-P, tactical grade IMU, is what is in all their Recipe units. And then from there, everything that's the core right there in the middle. And then on one side, you got the laser, of course. One side, you got the camera, and that can pretty much be anything. And they want to be able to integrate everything. And with everybody else that we use as well, again, not tied into one ecosystem. You have a particular laser you want to use that's not on this list, particular camera, they're willing to integrate on as well. So kind of the first to market thing that they pushed out, most commonly known as the Rock Robotic R2A or the Phoenix LiDAR Recon A, but their Recipe Avia, featuring the Livox Avia that's also found in the DJI L1. So super huge on there. We only have a super small amount of these left, but super nice beginner entry unit. Still single antenna, dual antenna. We'll talk more about that momentarily, but great thing in the market. Probably seen this at a bunch of shows near you. Definitely one of the more popular LiDAR units the last couple years. All their units come standard with a DJI Skyport, but it can be equipped with like a smart dovetail for free fly, toting the hole for other free flies. Our other partner we'll talk about, Whisper, and their unique dovetail mount. They're willing to work with it all. It's anything that can support its weight. Most of their payloads are 1.2 kilograms. Some of them are a little heavier than that, but M300, M350, all can support its weight, and these are all can be vehicle mounted as well. So heard about the Avia XT32, so the big step up. This has also been white labeled in the past as a Rock Robotic R360, and also Phoenix LiDAR Recon XT, but a great unit. They're most popular for a reason. Dual return, 32 channel, 120 meters of range, 360-degree laser, all for under $30,000 for the package. Extremely attractive. Got 24 megapixel Sony camera. This one on the photo here is equipped with dual antenna. So if you want to do any mobile mapping, you want an extra antenna for your heading when you're putting on a vehicle, 100% can support that. That's still available today. And so it's bigger brother still in the 32 channel XT family from Hesai, the M2X. So this is a newer one that's come out this year from Inertial Labs. So you go from dual return up to triple return. You go from 120 meters of range up to a whopping 300 meters of range. So you can fly higher. You're going to have more returns, same accuracy up in the sky, and then on the ground you're just going to be able to capture so much more data, almost 3 times as much on the mobile mapping with that extra range. And then on the XT32 you're coming in at 1.7 kilograms. You drop down to 1.2 kilograms, so you're getting an extra couple minutes up in the sky too as well. But that's an exciting package. Market this year, single antenna options, dual antenna options. All of them also have multiple GNSS receivers depending on the quality you need. Everything can be custom built and spec'd out to the way you need it. some exciting new things that come out in the past week. If you might have seen around the Free Fly Systems Fest, first annual out in Western Washington State last week, Inertial Labs announced 2 brand new exciting units. So as their core and everything that Inertial Lab makes and assembles is all in the United States, all in their Virginia factory. Their new Ouster laser, dual return, 200 meters of range, 64 channel laser, first on that, but 100% US made, assembled, whole thing, all NDAA compliant, and they're pretty much for all things everybody's just concerned about at the drone for the moment, that you may be in a particular use case where you have to use 100% US made. Inertial Labs has you covered, and this is a pretty exciting unit. So slightly more than the Hesai units, but it's definitely produces a fantastic result. And then the new flagship, the most exciting thing that come out in a while, the brand new Teledyne Optech CL360 HD with a whopping 750 meters of range and a 4th return. So a huge player. This one weighs a little bit over 8 pounds, so you have to have something like a Free Fly Alta X, a Harris Aerial, like a CHC BB4, any of those big, huge drones to carry it, because it is such a huge beast. You're, sub-centimeter on that. But in some photos here of last week at Free Fly Fest, so on the top left there's the brand new Teledyne unit that was flown on the Alta, and then of course me in the bottom left there with the new Ouster, tiny unit under a kilogram without the camera. You can fly for a long time. In the middle of their product manager for Inertial Labs, Will, with the Teledyne unit, and the Ouster there on the bottom right hand corner, and then the Ouster shown on the Free Fly Astro in the top right there. But all these can equip. They have a new RTK module as well you may not be aware of. So if you're tired of setting up your base on site or taking a coolers file from there, you want to process a little quicker, you can have it RTK enabled as well. That's an option too. Normally most people are just doing the PPK workflow, but that is an option there too. And then you got to have something to carry it, and we're really excited about the Whisper Systems platform. So this Whisper Systems happens to be made in the U.S. Everything is hand assembled in Batesville, Mississippi. But that's not a selling point. You see a lot of blue UAS drones out there, NDAA, that their sole thing is just we're made in the U.S. But this is coming for DJI, coming for Autel, coming for the big boys. They have really a lot of exciting things. So they have a partnership with Inertial Labs. All their systems are plug and play with their custom flight control software, super easy to use on there. But there's a lot more to it. Here's some of the Whisper team on the left there. Austin, co-founder, on there, and then to his right is John, head of sales and marketing. Third over is Brian. He's head of support. Again, with all our partners, every single one has U.S. support. If we're not able to help you in real time, we can talk to somebody in our time zone. We can get you the help that you need same day. And then the founder and CEO, Connor Ferguson, him and Austin founded this. They both went to Mississippi State 2017, got some angel investment from the college, made this out of thin air. So Whisper is the WISP is wireless internet service provider. So their first endeavors were drones to help rural America set up wireless internet in places that didn't have it before, and that's kind of transformed into carrying a bunch of different surveying, mapping equipment, inspection. We'll talk about more of a few, but big beast. And their Ranger Pro here has LiDAR 360 optical detection, hop swappable batteries. You're getting about 25 minutes of flight time with a LiDAR payload. It can carry 7 pounds of weight, more than an M300, more than an M350. It can also fly in 50 plus mile an hour winds. Very unique for the size. It's about the size of an M300. And also super unique for US platform. Something like a Free Fly Astro, starts over $20,000. Full kit with a couple batteries, you're under $15,000 for a Whisper. Super attractive price on that front. Can carry more. Everything is hot swappable. They have their own custom payload support and everything. So one of their other main payloads, of course, photogrammetry, huge as well. They support, any camera that pretty much you want to plug and play with. The most common, on this kind of front is 61 megapixel Sony A7R4, so full frame. You're covering a lot of ground. Get some high GSD from there, but they have A7R3. If you have a smaller camera, but E mount on the Sony lens, you can put pretty much any lens, any focal length you can imagine on there. You can run dual payloads if you want. If you can see in the photo there with Connor, you can put multiple things on there as well. They're all willing and wanting to integrate with these things. So they have the full team. This is not their whole team, some of their main players. But if you have an interesting custom payload, you have a phase one camera, you have something different. We'll talk about some more. They want to support it. They want to make things work. Happy to integrate. We've now successfully integrated the GeoSlam scanner as well, which is the first I've seen on this kind of front for this size. So we're super excited about that. That works fantastic as well. Still maintain the hot swappable functions there too. So some of their other options. So thermal as well, multiple options for that. If you have another third-party thermal, they'll work with that. They're not tied into what their ecosystem. But many options, range finders, thermal, optical zoom, you name it. They have the options for that, and the whole SPH engineering payloads. So bathymetric. You got your dual frequency echo sounders. You got your magnetometers, like a Schonstedt in the sky. You got ground penetrating radar, 500 megahertz. They have options. They want to, with a 7-pound payload capacity. There's a lot of things there. We're really excited. It can carry all the inertial laps except for the Teledyne, but super cool on there. So from there, though, we got to have some questions. From there, if anybody has any questions about, scanning, terrestrial scanning, mobile SLAM scanning, aerial scanning, mobile mapping, we're equipped to answer on that. If you've had problems with, ground control in the past, we can answer things on there. But we've got some time, so if we have some questions, we'll leave the floor open for that. Anything you think we missed, Nathan?
No, I think that about covers it. I think the big idea is that we have a bunch of different capture methods available for capturing data for very large projects. And depending on what you need, we have some product that will help you get you there. Either a drone, handheld, backpack, LiDAR, photogrammetry, and the GNSS to tie it all together. There's a couple of software things, like the GeoSlam Connect software is pretty good. We went over the StoneX Cube A and Cube 3D.
So what is GeoSlam Connect? What makes it so
Geos-
special?
GeoSlam Connect is the software that they give you whenever you buy a unit, because it's how you take the raw data from the LiDAR unit and turn it into a point cloud. That's why it's free, because it's the only way to get that raw data into a usable format. But that's essentially what it does, is takes that raw, gives you a point cloud. There's a little bit of filtering options in the Connect, which is pretty nice. So you can get rid of some of that noise.
What kind
And
of filters do they have?
they have moving object filters. So if there's like a car that's driving down the street while you're scanning, you can get rid of that car. Or if you're scanning an office building with a bunch of people that are working there, you can get rid of most of those people that are running up and down the hallways. They have surface noise filter. That's pretty good for interior places. Just kind of gets that surface nice and clean for you. Makes a really nice looking point cloud, as well as a color filter. So you can colorize your point cloud to make it really pretty for your client.
So what about GeoSlam Draw? Keep hearing about that. What is Draw, and how can that help people in their workflows?
Draw is a third party piece of software. It costs extra, essentially. You have to buy a separate license for Draw. And that gives you the ability to take your 3D point cloud and convert it into really nice 2-dimensional formats. Really good for CAD. like AutoCAD, or even just creating a plan, like a map of the area that has a scale, that has where you can take measurements. It just kind of simplifies things because a lot of computers and softwares don't like millions of points, but if you feed it something two-dimensional, it's very happy. So you can create accurate two-dimensional objects that are much easier for some people, like surveyors, to deal with because it's in a familiar format.
So a whole bunch of options on that. Speak a little bit about the vision camera as well, and just colorization in general.
Yeah, I had mentioned that Connect has a colorization filter. It's only possible using the vision system. It takes a rear-facing and a front-facing photo. It'll stitch those together into a 360 photo, and it'll place those in your point cloud, kind of like Google Maps, so that you have these little discs on the ground that you can hop around to, and you'll be inside the photo, and you can look around in them. So it's pretty good for quality control, quality assurance, and also for building the model, because whenever you're trying to build a model, you need to know what that red object in the corner of the room is. Is it a toaster or is it a fire extinguisher? These things can be kind of important, and it's hard to tell in a point cloud the difference between a toaster and a fire extinguisher. But if you have that photo, then you can pop into the photo, verify what that is, and you can model correctly. And that's just an example, but there's millions of examples like that. When you're trying to model a building, model an outdoor space, it can be kind of complicated. So the vision system is quite useful.
So another sample data set. There's a bunch of options on there. And what about the locate system?
That's where you're tying a GNSS system to the scanner itself. So you can put any kind of receiver on top of the backpack. It doesn't have to be Trimble. It doesn't have to be StoneX. It can be whatever that you're currently using. You put it on top of the backpack. You set it to record at 1 hertz, so that's once a second. And then as you're scanning, it'll pretty much like leave breadcrumb trails as you're going along. They then tie that data into the point cloud later, and it will automatically geolocate, orient your project. So it's just a quick and easy way to make sure that you're very, very accurate and located on Earth as you're scanning. So you don't have to set pins. You don't have to set targets or anything like that. You just set up your system all in the backpack, go for a walk, and you've made a really nice geolocated scan.
Fantastic. So what about open loop scanning? So closer, everything is going to be closed loop. Can you talk about open loop scanning and just that in general, and how GeoSlam and Connect and with the locate as well, how you can integrate those two to still get an accurate result?
Yeah. So as you know, with most, or even if you don't know, most scans, you want to close the loop. It's like closing a survey loop. Any kind of drift or error that you've introduced as you've gone along scanning can be corrected for by closing that loop. You pretty much end the scan where you started the scan. It makes it complicated sometimes if you're doing like a long corridor, like a roadway, a storm drain, something like that. That's very long and continuous.
We also have a coordinate system set, in our case, WGS 84, UTM
so if it's
zone
difficult
15
for you to
north,
close that loop,
but I can set it to a state plane zone or another zone if I want to, in which case I would change and then save the data
before some noise coming in.
Process. Once all the files are set, I can go ahead and begin processing the data. But now it's going to merge the LAZ with the GNSS data.
For all that drift, for all that error, by using that GNSS system.
The dialog box indicates when processing is complete. And once I dismiss the dialog box,
because you're pinging it using satellites,
I'll get a graphical representation of the trajectory registration,
drifting way off,
which shows how well the GPS data.
Easy to do those larger projects that are in a linear kind of path by incorporating the GNSS automatically.
So how about remote access? Talk a little bit about that with GeoSlam and just the versatility of SLAM with that as well.
So it makes it so that you can automate a lot of the scanning. Essentially, you can access that data without having a person plug in a bunch of wires into it. You can send an automated system, either a drone, a robot dog, even the Atlas robot, the humanoid. You can send them out to do a scan, and when they're finished, you can access that data automatically without sending a person into the field. So it makes it a little bit easier, like I said, for these automated systems to be used in scanning.
So you can do car mapping as well, and that can also be used with the vision camera. So pretty exciting on there. So capture a lot higher speeds and GNSS divided areas. So, nothing to say bad about, traditional navigation base like our Recipe lineup we're proud to offer. But, say you have to go under a bridge or, just under an overpass or anything like that, that's going to, limit the scans you can do with a traditional mobile mapper. Pretty exciting too at the SLAM that you can cover those areas that you normally wouldn't be able to cover with a vehicle too.
Yeah, extended tunnels, underwater tunnels, maintain accuracy. Very, very good accuracy is maintained without GNSS, because GeoSLAM itself got their start in mines. So there is no satellite that you can check anything with. It's a nightmare for most surveyors. But with this, you maintain high accuracy in completely GPS denied environments. So yeah, you can drive this down tunnels, underground mines. They're really handy dandy. So versatile. You can mount it to anything. We have a guy that was trying to mount it to a mine shaft elevator. So every time they went up and down, it would do a check to make sure that nothing's fallen in, nothing's shifted. You can mount it to anything. If it can take the weight, you can mount it to it and start doing scans.
So scam to BIM as well. So super easy way to get a quick, 80-90% of a skeleton project all the way and throw that into recap, go right into Revit. I'll talk a little bit about BIM and how that can be useful.
Yeah, just because you have a point cloud, you don't have a model. Point cloud is not a model. There's no actual surfaces there. They're just points in space. So to create a building information model, which is what BIM stands for, you have to create those surfaces and apply them to the right places, and that can be difficult. If the point cloud's too noisy, too much fuzz, it'll be hard to know where to place the wall. If you don't have those photos associated with it, you won't know, like I said earlier, if that's a toaster or a fire extinguisher, which can be very important whenever you're doing a scan for like safety, fire safety, doing checks to make sure that the construction people have put everything where it's supposed to go. You want to know if that's a fire extinguisher. And all that kind of information is heavily relied upon in BIM environments. That's the whole reason you're doing the building information model, is for the building information. The pipes, the structural, all of that needs to be captured. And the best way to do that is with a GeoSLAM system in most cases, either terrestrial LiDAR, setting up a tripod. It can take a while. They're very, very accurate, but they take a long, long time because you're having to set it up every time. So if you're trying to capture this information and do it in a quick way, I highly suggest a handheld mapper, especially the GeoSLAM, because of its robust algorithm. So you can take it inside, outside. You can stick it up into the drop ceilings of office buildings. You can stick it down into manholes if you're trying to capture sewage information. They're dead useful, very, very versatile, especially if you're trying to, again, to do something as complex as building information modeling. That's a lot of data to capture, very complex data. So having kind of an equally complex kind of capture method is kind of nice. I mean, it's easy, it's simple, but it can get all that complex data. It can go into those hard to reach places. It can be turned upside down. It can be mounted to whatever you need. So it's pretty good for these complex kind of capture methods.
So one last tool from GeoSLAM as well. Talk about the Revo RT a little bit and some of the differences between it and the Horizon and who it's normally suited for.
So as I've been talking, I've kind of been mentioning the Horizon is kind of what I've been focusing on. Every time I mention GeoSLAM, I kind of mean Horizon, their product. But this is the Revo. It's kind of a step down, but it's still very versatile, very mountable, as you see here, on poles, on a cradle to be drop down shafts, like elevator shafts or anything like that you need to be mapped. But they don't have the same range. So you want to stay indoor. and it does not capture reflectance value. So whenever you're using LiDAR, it measures the time of the pulse, time of flight, to get distance, and then it's also measuring the reflectance value. How strong was that return? So if you hit something black with a laser pulse, its return is going to be fairly weak compared to if you hit something that's white, or like a street sign that has a highly reflective 3M stuff on it. It hits a really, really strong return from that. This one does not record. Revo does not record the return, the reflectance value. So it's a little bit more limited in its capacities. But if you are an architect, if you are scanning buildings to get true square footage, which is becoming a bigger and bigger deal over in Europe, anytime they sell a house, they have to have a survey done to ensure that the square footage that these people are selling is true square footage. So if you're doing something like that, the Revo is an excellent, excellent product. It's a little bit cheaper, but again, it's much more limited. So in the right use cases, it's perfect. It's perfect. But the Horizon's more of a jack of all trades, Swiss Army knife. You can throw anything at it, throw it at anything, and you'll have good data for large environments. And this one's more specified for that indoor architecture type of thing.
Perfect. So I want to highlight again the two brand new releases from the Recipe lineup. Before we go, if anybody has any questions, again, happy to answer them. But Teledyne Optec CL 360 HD, super crazy high accurate unit, sub-centimeter, 750 meters of range. Crazy. You ever heard of anything like that on a scanner? And a whopping 4 returns. So capture from super high, even a helicopter, small airplane if you needed to, but 4 returns, going to be super killer. And the vegetation in, high enough quality grade to get like an airport tarmac, any kind of crack detection, the best of the best accuracy. So not for everybody's workflow. Definitely has its use case though. Dual antenna comes equipped as well. And then the entire 100% US made and assembled ouster unit, and the first Recipe with 64 channels, 200 meters of range. Awesome unit as well. They all use the same PC Master, PC Painter processing suite. Super easy to use. Basically just drag and drop your files. But kilogram of weight without a camera, not bad at 1.4 from there, but 2 super great options new on there. All the Recipes have optional 16 millimeter, 24 megapixel APS-C Super 35, half full frame size sensor, so bigger sensor than say a Mavic 3 Enterprise. What's on the DJI L1. Definitely way bigger than like a Phantom 4, Air 2S sort of size, pretty much bigger than all the odd tells. So huge, nice big sensor with high megapixel. The colorization, you can also take those images separate, put them in the Pix4D, put them into drone deploy. You can make your ortho from that as well separately. If you wanted to just make an ortho for the day, you can just take just the photos. You're not limited in that too. But again, we're MGS, proud distributors of the GeoSlam, the full StoneX lineup in Inertial Labs Recipe and the Whisper system. So let you guys wait. If anybody has any questions, we'll wait another minute or so. But if not, thanks for your time, Nathan. We appreciate having you on. If anybody has any questions and they want to ask it privately, feel free to contact Nathan or ourselves. We're both very active on LinkedIn. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to the David Moss Report newsletter. That's right here on LinkedIn. It's featured right on top of my bio. So if you go right to my page from here, it'll be right there. I put out 2 articles a day, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. And MGS also has a LinkedIn newsletter that is also twice a day. So subscribe to those. But from there, we appreciate everybody for attending and hope to see you all in the next one.